What up, guys? Dr. Vic here. Excited to connect with you guys if you're listening to another episode here on the Mindful Experiment. So excited to have you here. We've had some great news come up just recently. I was on a podcast and they were talking about how they were ranked a certain percentage in the global aspect, and they shared their source where it came from. And I'm like, wait a minute. I think my podcast is, I'm on there. I know it gets distributed to that. So I'm like, let me go see where my ranking. I was just curious. I never even knew they did that. And it was something I wanted to know a little deeper about. And all of a sudden, I go to check, and the Mindful Experiment is ranked top 1% in the entire global market for podcasts. This comes from listennotes.com. And that's over 2.82 million podcasts. We were blessed to be ranked top 1%. So for all the listeners, I want to thank you for tuning in and being a subscriber, sharing it with your friends, and so much more. It means the world to me. I've been putting this work in now for 4 years. And it was a vision that really just was wanting to get information out there, wanting to connect with people that I couldn't connect with so I can learn more from them, but also promote them and also empower my audience. And so this has really, really been an exciting time for me. And I'm just very blessed and honored to be been doing this for this long. I found out I was on another podcast and they were like saying, I forget the number, but it was like 80-90% of podcasts don't make it past 10 episodes. And so I was just very, very blessed to have that opportunity to showcase this podcast for as long as I have, up to this is number, I think 370, this episode today. And so just want to thank you guys. I appreciate it. I'm very in a humble place right now, very blessed. I do this out of passion. I do this to just elevate as much as I can. And if I can help one person, I've done my work here. My purpose of this podcast has been done. So just want to thank you guys for tuning in. And if you haven't subscribed or followed, please do. It helps. And share a review. If you like the podcast, share a review. It helps out massively for us to get out there and so forth, specifically on Apple or Spotify. I think they do reviews on Spotify, but anywho, I digress. So in this episode, before we get into it, check out the show notes. If you're, when you get time, if you're just listening while you're running or doing something, check out the show notes. I did a webinar on how to have your cake and eat it too. And it's all about just how to choose your life and whatever that is. The cake is whatever you want to have in your life, but you also, the eating part is to have it on your terms. Right. So too many times we've been told we have to sacrifice things in order to get what we want and all these kind of things. And this masterclass workshop is all about demystifying all that, right? How it's bad advice. And we can drastically have a different experience by choosing what we want. And I go through the principles. I've shared these kind of principles on and off here on the podcast, but I just kind of nicely combined it all together for you guys so you can grasp and really connect there. So check that out in the show notes for more. So today's episode, this one is a show that I wanted to dive in about inner struggle and inner battles, right? We all have this in some way, shape, or form. And a lot of times, I've talked about this before on the podcast when it comes to resistance, and I wrote it in my second book, A Walk in the Dark, How Resistance is the Cause of All Suffering. And it's one of those things where, how do you handle tough times? How do you handle struggles? How do you handle challenges, right? My wife right now at the recording this is 30 weeks pregnant, and it's an exciting time for us as our first child coming. And I'm so stoked to become a father. It's something I've been waiting for. And everything has just been a blessing in how it's been working out. So we attend a lot of classes. We attend classes for hypnobirthing. We attend classes for fear-free birth with our doula. And it's just how much information can we grasp? Now, we know a lot of these principles because my background's in prenatal work and pediatrics, and my wife loves knowing things. So she studies extensively on these kind of things. And so we've been studying this for quite some time, doing her work, doing her own path and my own path. And it's one of those things where, though, I just been loving the process because it's when you look at, now I'm just going to use pregnancy as an example for women who are listening. I understand, just a disclaimer, I've never been pregnant, never will be pregnant. I won't ever go through that experience physically on myself. It's just impossible. But I'm using pregnancy as an example of life. And that is, our doula was doing an experiment one time, and she was trying to show people when a contraction happens, how you can use a tool of some sort to prepare you for it. Now, if you've had a baby before, you've been through labor, you'll understand that, it's kind of hard to really say how a contraction is going to be. I mean, I even understand this, right? But there are mechanisms and tools and tricks that you can do when it comes to be able to handle that, because a labor process is just it's an event in life like any other event. Yes, it's a physical one, it's emotionally draining one. There's all these different elements that play a role in this. But how, let's look at life. I would say that anything that happens in your life is the same degree, just maybe different variances, right? Maybe it's not physically painful, but it's emotionally taxed and energetically drainful or affecting, right? You can have other events where you break a bone. That's physically painful, but now you can't do the things you love, and there comes the emotional side to it. So I think there's different variables with this, and we can go down a whole rabbit hole with all these kind of things. But how do you cope with things in your life that are things that can be somewhat of a struggle? How do you handle and get through it? How do you be resilient to these things? You see, and I think this is one of the keys to helping you thrive and live a fulfilled life. Because I know for myself, I remember when I was first coming out of starting chiropractic school, I had all this debt and I had all this limited beliefs with money and all these other things. And I just thought, man, if I just get to this point and make this much money, I'll be good. I can live life. Man, I can store away tens of thousands of dollars each month in savings and put in investments and make a killing, right? And, you get to that point and then it's like, I'm not fulfilled, or it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And it was interesting. And I still had to continue to work. I still had, not that I would always serve. It's one of my passions. I tell my wife all the time, retirement doesn't exist for me. I don't even like the word. You shouldn't even call yourself being retired. You should just say, I'm having a new experience in life. There's actually a big difference in words with that. But so long story short, it was one of those things where in my own life, it was like, looking at these things. And when I got to those points, I was like, man, there's still the storms. There's still things worrying. I'm still worrying about money, even though I'm making way more, 10x more than what I was making before. I'm still worried about money and other things. So they didn't go away. And I was like, why is this happening? And so I'm bringing all this up because I want to have you to think a little bit of how do you handle stresses and challenges in your life. Now, the more tools you have to your advantage, the better you can get through it, the better you can process through. So let me give you a visual. Let's say you're looking out into the horizon and you see some really nice dark clouds coming your way, okay? And you keep looking and you're like, man, those are dark. And you see a couple lightning strikes. You're like, this isn't looking good. Now, what tools do you have to protect yourself from that storm, right? You can say a car, an umbrella, a house, a cardboard box, a patio that has a cover. What do you have, right? Now, the more tools you have, the more you can handle the storm. You can wade through it, okay, without dealing with the damages or the effects that can come with that. If you have a house to get into, most likely, as long as there's no leaking in that house, you're good, right? So this is the same concept when it comes to our life. What tools do you have to handle the storms of life that are going to come? What is out there? What can give you a training system to handle the storms of what life happen, the challenges, how to be more resilient, how to build up your reserves? Guys, I can share endless things that can help you. I can tell you personally what I do because I face challenges all the time. I just went through a massive shift 4 months ago. I went from being a pediatric chiropractor, being one of the the leader in my community, from a chiropractic standpoint and a pediatric standpoint, to changing all that and going into full-time now, being a business mindset coach and creating online programs and doing group coaching for individuals. And so there's a huge shift there. And so there's always storms coming up, right? But how do you prepare? So what I want to share with you guys is there's many things you can do, but I want to share one thing in particular that I love doing. And it has been the biggest thing to have me overcome, because what happens is when I do this thing, no matter how many times I do it, my body, my nervous system will instinctually respond the way it naturally does, how I deal with stress. It's fascinating. And so what I'm going to challenge you to do, okay, and I've talked about this before, but what I want to challenge you to do is for 30 seconds to a minute. You can do a minute. You're not going to die. You can do 1 minute of this. When you're taking a shower, I want you to put the shower nice and hot as it can be, right? And just enjoy it, shower, do what you got to do. And then when it's time, put it as cold as possible. What I used to do is I take the nozzle, I turn off the water, and I just go just enough to where it became full pressure again. And you stand under that. Dip your head in that cold water, let the body get the shock, right? How you're going to respond to that is how you normally respond to life. Now, for me, for most people, they tense up, right? And for me, it's similar to that, where I'll just have like a really shock, and I just get really energetic into it, and then my coping mechanism will kick in, where I start to breathe, and I start to calm my body through my breath, and then all of a sudden, I'm perfectly fine. I still feel the cold, but it doesn't affect me. I just breathe through it until it gets into a place of perfect balance, where then the cold doesn't affect me. I'm not even paying attention to it. I'm just enjoying the cold water. Okay. I don't like doing cold showers as much because it's not as effective for me as it is like a cold plunge, jumping into 38, 40 something degree water. That is a mind trick. And you stay in there for 2, 4, 5 minutes. That's a big game changer. But what this does is the cold is a representation of the storms of life, the challenges of life. The cold is there to just help you be more resilient. And what you're doing is you're training your nervous system to be stronger and to be able to adapt better. And you'll build your own coping mechanisms. You'll find what works for you to calm and get you centered. For me, when I jump in 38 degree water, the first 5 to 10 seconds, I'm like wanting to hyperventilate. My whole body's like really like in shock mode, like danger, 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 danger. Right? How many times do we feel like that? That's how life is. Maybe you have a business and things haven't been going well for 2-3 months. Danger, danger, danger. You're thinking that things are just going to continue on that way. It could be a relationship, could be with your kids, could be with your own health, right? But there's things you can do, right, to prepare and shift and put that energy into what you want to create. The reason why I like the cold so much, and I tell this to my clients all the time, is that if you're never in a great place or you're thinking or whatever's going on, just go jump in a cold shower. You won't feel the same after 30 seconds. Because what cold does is it puts your mind and brain into a survival state. And so whatever you're worrying about, that gets pushed down in the lower of the priorities, because right now you have cold and the brain doesn't know. Your eyes are trying to pick up, brain's using your eyes to pick up information to know, is this going to be permanent? Is this going to last forever? Are we really in danger here? What the heck's going on? Right. And so you can utilize the cold to press you to build that resilience to handle it. There are many other health benefits that comes with cryotherapy. This is the name for it. Better immune system, better skin, you lose weight, improve your metabolism, build growth hormone. There's a lot of good that comes with this. So, and this is another reason why I use all it, but for the main part is just to help me be more resilient to my life. And so this is one thing that you can do that's pretty much free. And if you live in the winter areas where it gets cold and stays cold for a while, if you have a nice little, you can get some water to leave outside. So I used to do in Chicago. I had a livestock tank, 100-gallon, and I would literally just leave it out there and cover it, and then I just hop out, jump in, cold water, 30-something degrees. It wasn't fun, and stay in there for 3, 4, 5 minutes. I try to go as 5 minutes, and then hop out, and then go get warmed up. And it's that challenge for you. But if you want to be resilient, this is the thing. And I'm bringing this up because what I loved when the doula did at her class is she used ice as an image for contraction. And what was interesting is she was using it to share perspective. So people were feeling the cold. We all did it. Even I did. And you just hold the ice for as long as you can. And then what happened was she had the ladies do it again. This time I didn't have to do it, but we were doing an exercise with it. And they held it. And what happened is they went twice as long as they did before without even knowing it. Because she asked, did it feel longer? And they're like, no, it felt pretty much the same time. And she's like, it was twice as long. And she's like, what was different? Right. And some people already had an expectation. They knew it wasn't going to stay there forever. Right. Perspective in life. That's why resistance is the cause of all suffering. So if you see it just like going in cold water, it's not a threat. You're not going to die. You're going to survive it, as long as within a certain period of time. But if you know that, hey, I just got to breathe through this. I got to find my bliss in this. Because for me, I love the cold plunge because it's one shock and then I can get my breath down. And once I do, I'm like in this pure blissful state. I can feel the cold. I can feel all that, and sometimes it can be painful, but I'm just breathing. I'm keeping myself centered because what matters most is my reaction to things, not what's in my environment. It's my reaction to things. And so if I can stay centered through whatever's going on in my environment, does not interfere with me, it's a game changer. And the better you can do this, the better you can utilize these tools. What ends up happening in your life then is you can keep your energy focusing on what you want to create, what you like to experience. You don't get distracted as much. And distraction can happen in many different ways. It could be TV, could be events in life, what's going on in someone's life. Could be an event that happens in your own life that kind of distracts you from what you want to create. Could be breakups, those kind of things. All those things play a role. But at the end of the day, it's all about where you're keeping your energy. Because the more you can keep your energy focused in the direction where you want to go, that builds momentum. And as long as you have momentum behind you, it's just a matter of time it's going to happen. Because you're building, you'll start to see the momentum. Because when you're on the right track in life, and this is a whole nother podcast episode I can do, but when you're on the right track in life, all of a sudden, the universe will show that to you. It'll give you a little trickle effects, right? If you start a new business and you're going in a certain direction, after a certain period of time, and I can't tell you what that time is, it could be 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year. But what ends up happening is you'll see the trickle effect happen. And it's like one little thing at a time. You start to see it speed up little at a time. And that's your cue that you're on the right track. If you're not getting that, you're not on the right track. And you got to give it time though. But then you have to relook at other areas and other things to really see what do you have to do to redirect that energy. But that's what I got for you guys today. I hope this helps in some way, shape, or form in your life. But like I said, I'm challenging you. Go for a minute. It won't be fun. You'll be fine. After the shower, after that 1 minute cold shower, put the heat back on. It's fine. Get the blood circulation back up. That way you're not shivering or cold or anything like that. And just make sure to breathe. Don't hold your breath, especially when that cold shock hits. To be truthfully honest, the reason why I like to shower is because, like I said, a cold plunge is 1 shock. A shower is 4 because you get hit this way, you get hit from one side, you get hit from the other side, and you get hit from the back. Never like it. I like to just go all in, come up, and then just breathe and do what I have to do. But have fun with it. Challenge yourself. I can't tell you how many times I use this for clients, and it works magic. It works amazing. And there's so many other tools that you can do. Like I said, I'm only sharing one with you. I have probably about 12 to 14 different tools that I have in my arsenal that I use and I share with clients. But that's what I have for you guys today. This is going to help shape your mind. It's going to make you more resilient, and it's to help you keep your energy focused and centered on what you want to create. And if you find this to be insightful, if you find to enjoy this episode, please share a review. Please also share with someone that you know who could benefit from this. We're trying to expand and grow. We want to continue to move forward as the podcast. Again, we hit 1%, top 1% in global markets. I love it. And, it's the thing that we want to continue moving forward. So I want to appreciate you guys. And please subscribe. It's a great way to get connected, never miss an episode. We do 2 a week. And that way you never miss one. One's with me, one's in an interview. And, but yeah, appreciate you as always. Much love to y'all. And I'll talk to you on the next episode.